Hi, my name is Miriam Ireton, and welcome to Real is Rare podcast, where we have real conversations, but with rare people. And I'm especially excited really to interview you, Matt, because I think you have an amazing story. But one of the things I really love about you, if I'm being honest, is I love the vulnerability. You know, we talk to a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of founders, a lot of people who have exited their companies. And there's just a realness about you that I find very refreshing. And so I'm really excited to ask you about your journey, your story from being a backpacker from the UK and landing in Australia and going from that to building a $500 million company and exiting 120 million and selling your company to Toyota. So that is such a great accomplishment. Congratulations to you.
Appreciate it.
And so welcome.
Yeah, it's an honor, man. I think I as soon as I met you, I didn't know any of your background. I didn't even ask, but I just felt I connect with just real, and that's kind of the whole podcast idea about real is rare. Just we just like authentic, congruent, and just there's some humility about you where you're still human and you're not letting money kind of
facade.
It's not a facade, and it's not. It's almost like you didn't get bought by it, right? Where it then transform you into something else, and I think it's it's a great tool for the right people.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you've been blessed, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So I'm super curious. I mean, how do you go from backpacking to how's that whole idea just kind of...
So 20 years old, moved to Australia, 5, 6, 7 grand in the account just to go traveling. And did the traveling, albeit Sydney and Melbourne. Landed in Melbourne, went and got some sales jobs, call center work, door knocking. And was instantly, coming from the UK as well, instantly blown away with the earning potential in sales. So did a couple of sales jobs. I'm a huge believer in fate as well, and it's a super cool story. I finished up on one job. My dad was over. We were down in New Zealand for a wedding, and it's just so easy to get a job in Australia when you're good at sales. So we're down in New Zealand in 2 days. I'm like, look, I'm not going to apply for a job. So I go to my dad's hotel one night, and he's mucking around upstairs. I'm sat in the bar in the lobby of his hotel. I'm like, oh, God, I'm just waiting for him. So I just decided to pull my phone out and just apply for some jobs, which I wasn't going to do until I got back from the holiday.
Yeah.
Applied for this call center role in a car buying company. Long story short, ended up getting the job, a job that I was never going to apply for. I wasn't even going to look at, work until I got back from this 1-2 week holiday. But I did. Ended up working for someone. It was a small family-run business, so they were hamstrung with capital. Processes and systems, maybe weren't as developed as they could be, but the opportunity in the online car buying space that they were in was huge. If you go to anyone in the UK, anyone in the US, you say, "Tell me the 3 ways to sell your car." They're going to tell you, trade it in at a dealer, sell it privately on Auto Trader or whatever it is, or sell it to a car buying company. If you asked an Australian the same question, they'd only say sell it to a dealer or sell it privately. They'd be like, what's the third option? So instantly you have that.
There was no like Carvana or anything like that in the US. Oh, wow.
So instantly you have this dealership price, which comes with that stigma of getting lowballed.
Yeah.
Right up to the private sale, which can take forever, but you're maximized. And this huge area in the middle that's just untapped.
And did you see that right away or?
Instantly.
Wow.
And that was, my first experience.
And how old were you then?
I was 23, 24. So I ended up staying with that business for 5 years.
So let me ask you this. Did you learn the business there?
Learned everything. So it was a father-son business. The father really took me in as his second son. He ended up stepping away from the business halfway through. Me and the son, I assisted his son in running it, and ended up selling to a publicly listed business 5 years in. Very quickly after that transaction went through, I decided it wasn't for me, as is often the case, and went and pursued starting my own thing. Moved up to Brisbane. For those that aren't familiar, it ended up being the best decision of my life. But for those that aren't familiar, during COVID, Melbourne, which is where I was at, was the most locked down city on the planet, versus Brisbane that had 2 weeks of lockdown.
Oh, wow.
So it ended up being the best decision of my life. Again, fate. And that was 2019, November 2019. And then 4 months later, COVID.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you built a lot of it too in COVID.
Yeah, so it was 2019 was a crazy year for me. I had our daughter was born. She was born in June. In October, my partner decided she was English as well, was going to take our daughter back to the UK to meet my family, meet her family. I said, sure, look, I'm starting the business in a month. It's good timing. She goes to come back in January. There was an issue with a passport had less than 6 months on it. At this time as well, we were on visas. Rebooked the flight for March. Borders are shut. And then I didn't see my daughter. Essentially, I saw her when she was 3 months old. I didn't then see her until she was 3.5 years old. They couldn't re-enter Australia. If I left, I wouldn't be able to re-enter either. So that happened. 3 months into starting this business, so dealing with that. COVID. Look, COVID was, it wasn't. The demand was there in COVID. Car dealers weren't making tens of thousands of dollars per car. We had to pay more for the car. So everyone goes on about.
So it's similar to the US.
Yeah, correct. But where the increase in margin came was the demand. The cars would sell quicker. We weren't sitting there making $7-8 a car, which is, I think, what people seem to think. So yeah, look, COVID came in and we were, very quickly decided to pivot our business from what was an online car buying company straight to wholesale. That was our only method of distribution. Pivot to retail. We're selling to dealers. They're making all this money. Let's just capitalize on the end-to-end margin. Let's just be the dealer ourselves. So sort of a two-pronged approach. And yeah, gradually through over the next 6 years, it sort of became what it became.
Yeah, it's impressive that you built the largest car lot in the entire continent.
Yeah.
Right, which is a really big deal. And oftentimes, and you actually built it during one of the toughest times where businesses were closing.
Yeah.
And, you had not just business challenges, but personal challenges as well.
Yeah.
So it's just such a testament to, terrible things can happen, but what are you going to do about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a great story.
Yeah.
I love when you, I listened to one of your reels and all that talked about, how you can make money day one. Right. Instead of creating this story of struggle for the first year or 2 or 3.
I mean, you Google it. It comes up on Google. It's known as the 5-year rule, which is once you get through 5 years, you've survived business. Right. What the hell is that about?
Yeah. Well, part of it, I think most people have a story, and if they believe the story, then obviously they're writing the story as they're believing it.
Yeah.
Where you go, forget this story. Let me create my own. Tell me a little bit about that.
With regards
no, just like the fact that you just did you like, because you had that belief and mentality where I'm
absolutely. Look, did I think it would get to 500 million? Look, I probably knew it would. Did I think it would happen? Within 5-6 years? Maybe that's a slight stretch, but I certainly knew it was possible. But yeah, this whole belief people have of or that society sort of says now, where you just have to simply survive for a couple of years. Again, we were within 60 days we had matched the market leader for a car.
60 days.
60 days.
Wow.
We matched the market leader for B2C.
Were you doing ads or?
Yep. So a lot of digital marketing. At our peak, we were close to $500,000 a month on Google, which, bearing in mind, Australia is a country of 25 million population. It's not the US. Yeah. So relative to capita, it's large. And the thought from, I had a lot of friends that were dealers as well, car dealers, and they couldn't get their head around the fact that, so you're telling me you're $500,000 out of pocket before you make $1. You've got that commitment to the marketing budget, and I'm like, yeah. And they're like, what if you don't hit it? And you have to know, you have to understand that digital marketing is something I really learned a lot about through a few previous businesses.
So was that the realm of marketing in the previous company?
Yeah.
Got it. Where were you at in income? I'm curious. Like when you were done in that 5-year mark, where were you at in income?
What I was earning in that last business? About 150 a year.
That was it.
Yeah. And that's, you know, that's,
So how, like, I'm curious from my end, like, what caused whether it's hunger or vision, this big vision to kind of attack the marketplace, see it, and have the hunger to.
opportunity was identified early on, but, you know, frustration as well. Like it was like I said, a fragmented market. Had these ideas as well that they weren't always adopted. I credit where credit's due. You know, a lot of the ideas I pushed were taken on board, but you know, there came a point where I thought I just can't keep just giving everything away here. There's a huge opportunity.
Did you realize this at the previous company? Is that?
Yeah, that's when I realized, you know, and full circle, a lot of the people that I worked with there ended up coming and working for me, moved up to Brisbane.
And that's a good point, because most people, they go, I want, you know, they're 21, they go, I want to be a business owner.
Yeah.
Or whatever, 18, they want to be a YouTuber, a business owner, or whatever the case might be, but you were willing to like invest in learning from somebody else.
Yeah.
Which there's a lot of shortcuts there's a lot of mistakes you can learn.
Absolutely. And like, you know, it's important to note as well, like we never ever raised money or gave out equity, you know, to replace with equity. You know, it's a funny story. So our financial year is June ends, 30th of June. So we're 7 months into the business, and my dad's like, "Oh, you should get your accounts audited." He's been in business in the UK, never in cars. And I'm like, well, "Okay." So, you know, get Deloitte round, get, you know, PwC, BDO, a few others. I'm like, this ain't right. The cheapest quote's coming in at like 60 grand. They'll audit the books. And he's like, yeah, that's normal. Just get it done. And I'm like, we don't have to. We're a tiny little business. And he's like, nah, just trust me. So ended up getting audited again for 2 years after that. We weren't ever required to be audited. Get to, you know, 3 years in, and 2.5 years in, and we're really, really, really growing. And I'm like, shit, we need a bit of money here. Go to the bank, and the bank's thought we need 3 years audited accounts. And I've got 2, and I've got another set coming out in, you know, 3 months. Had I have not taken that advice, spent money where I'm like 50 grand, that was a lot of money, like in 7 months into the business, you know? And as with any accountants, you know, it continues to, I think it was 80 grand was the last one. So had I not have taken that advice, we wouldn't have had anything for the bank. The bank would have said, Joe. So, you know, in the end, we had a $40 million facility with the bank. Oh. And, you know, it was, but there's a lot of risk there as well. I had everything on the line, you know, you lose a roof over your head, you lose your car, you lose everything. So significant risk, but, you know, obviously ample reward as well.
Yeah. So during this time, how much temptation was there to kind of, as the company was growing, between like kind of living in because you were in your 20s at the time, right?
27 when I started.
And then, you know, living your 20s versus like investing in the business. What kept your eye on the ball?
Working is my passion. Like, you know, it's a hobby to me. You know, you're much the same, I know. So I think you have to enjoy something to really be successful at it and make money like we did. You know, it's 100 hours a week. You can't hate that. You know, you can't be dragging yourself up.
Is that what you're doing? 100 hours a week?
At one point, yeah. Look, usually around 80, but there was a point when it was 100 hours a week. You've got to enjoy it, and you're not going to enjoy every hour when you're doing 100 either. But you've got to enjoy the core of it. And I really did.
So aside from, you know, you being a hard worker, right? Because one of the things that I heard you say is, you know, all money is a mile marker for you.
Point tally, yep.
Right? And it wasn't, you know, you could have been balling out of control, right? Being so young and having all this money coming in. So what kept you level-headed and focused? Like, what was the compelling vision that drove you to want to work 100 hours a week? Because everybody wants the glory, but very few people want the story that goes along with that.
Yeah.
And being young and being that driven, what was it that drove you?
Controversially, it probably was exactly that, but it was, I guess, the destination at that point. You know, year 3, I think revenue's 184 million. Year 4, it's 260 million. It's starting to ramp up. And at that point, you know, sure, there's
hold on, 260 million?
Yeah.
Year 3?
End of year 3, end of year 4, one of them, yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, and that obviously takes us to, you know, where this decision to exit started, which we'll get onto. But there was lots of money. There was access to a lot of money, but seeing that money then was the destination. Well, what's the pot of the gold at the end of the rainbow? So that was probably the driver. So it actually was the money and the boats and there's the thing when you close your eyes that you see on YouTube and all that sort of stuff.
Splurge in any of that during the whole 5 years?
Building phase?
Yeah.
Did you splurge throughout the building phase?
No, I bought my first house, and then I bought it for cash outright. I'm a big believer you always need a roof over your head. And I'm a car guy, so I had a nice car and a nice SUV.
But outside of that,
No,
no?
I had one watch. I had
Really?
nothing. Yeah,
Amazing.
look, I lived well, but like in terms of materialistic items, no. I could afford to eat nice food. I should go to nice restaurants. I should go on holidays every now and again. But yeah, materialistic things, no.
Yeah. So your drive was calling in the right direction. I mean, there's
Yeah, well,
people that kind of put a dynamite right. Or how about your identity? Did you grow that while you're in it, or you just kind of engulfed in it so much where it kind of consumed your life? Or were you conscious about growing yourself and your identity, or not really? Or that wasn't kind of, because sometimes you're just so engulfed in it, like you wake up and you build something magnificent.
I would say I probably was engulfed. I didn't, I lost in the last year. I've lost 20 kilos. I wasn't huge, but I was just.
What is that?
I was overweight.
50 pounds?
40 pounds, 50 pounds, yeah.
Thanks.
So, but again, for 4 years, I didn't look after myself. It was just all work. There wasn't time to look after myself. So, there wasn't a lot of balance going on upstairs. You were so engulfed in it, that it just, the blinkers were on.
Yeah, but I respect that a lot, because there's a thing I talk about in business where if the blessings are coming, you better be awake or ready to receive it. And if not, it just passes by you and it's gone.
Yeah.
And so there's a time and place where the very best of you is always required. And I love, it's similar to what I say, but I'm going to quote you, or you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you talked about most people want confidence before the action.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you haven't done anything and you want the confidence prior to that. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I think, a lot of people are always, there is so many successful people in this world that you will never, ever meet or hear about. And they'll just live their life and they'll do so much wasted talent. 10x the ones that you actually hear about that go and do it. And, personally, I believe, from what I've seen, just in my own circles, with my own friends, is people, this fear of, I'm not ready. Like, you're never going to be ready to start a business. Like, you just need to go and do it. And you can make mistakes, but just make it. You're not going to start learning until you start losing money, and we made mistakes, we jumped into it and we bought cars, that ended up costing us a lot of money. We made heaps of mistakes, but you're never going to be ready. And so I think when, it's act first, the confidence will come later, and it's
That's amazing. I live by probably the past couple of decades of action breeds confidence, inaction breeds fear.
Right.
And that's kind of every area of your life. And so it's like, to me, like this I just remind myself, man, if I want to act and I don't, I just stole from my soul.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if I do, I just fed my self-esteem and my spirit.
Yeah.
And so every day I get a chance to do that or steal from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think if people are more conscious about that, they'd feed it more.
100%.
Which they feed it with action. There's no, if you don't, it's just, we're in a day and time where you can just buy food. We never had to hunt for it. So like back in the day, you had to act to eat.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, so a lot of things are actions being taken out with certain things. And anyway, that's, I love that, man, when you mention it.
But, we're also in the time where money can be made off almost anything as well. There was so new inventions every day. There'll be a new app tomorrow and we'll all be using it in 2 years' time. They'll be worth 10 billion or whatever they're valued at. So it's, there's never been so much wasted talent, but there's never been so much opportunity as well. And it's just, they're both separating at a rapid rate of knots. So it needs to happen to bring it all back together.
You have any thoughts on that, on how to help folks narrow the gap with so much information?
look, I think I can only do so much, unfortunately, but, thinking ahead to what I want to do, Well, look, let's start with when I exited the business, Again, I thought it was so blinkers on destination. We went from just before we decided to sell the business, we came off the back of 44% growth, followed by 35% growth. Everyone's like, what the hell are you doing? Why are you selling it? Like, you're mad. And there was this moment where it was, I sort of dwelled on for a few months, and it stopped being about the money or the success or the, how big can I get it? And it started to become about freedom. I'd been free 4 years, and I had the best team in this business. The culture was unreal in the company, but you still bear the burden. As good and as much as all those people cared, they could sleep at night. I couldn't. So that freedom I really was in search of that freedom. Decided to sell the business off the back of 44% growth, 35% growth year on year. Obviously sell it, focused on the destination, freedom, and then with all this money, it's a
lot of freedom.
It's about getting nice. So signed Christmas Eve, completed on the 31st of Jan. And it was about 2 days before I got paid. I just started spiraling into this sort of hole where I had this feeling of emptiness, and I couldn't really put my finger on it. I was meant to go out for a party. We had all these advisors, big completion party. I had staff that wanted to celebrate as well. Had my birthday. Canned all of them off, didn't want to do anything. I just went into this super, super dark place. And really, long story short, I was always waiting, when it got announced, we're going to do something. We found the person. The feeling wasn't there. Maybe it'll come. We sign it. Why is it still not there? Completion. I'm like, shit, it's still not here. It's not coming. If it's not, the money's in the account. It ain't coming now. If I don't have it now, it's not coming. And I put my finger on it. It was just a complete lack of fulfillment. Again, I'd done this on my own as a shareholder anyways. It's 100%. And I got to the end of it, and, I just didn't have fulfillment in what I did. So moving forward, looking ahead, going back to what we were talking about, I want to invest in founders moving forward, whether it's an idea that's still in the notebook or early stages startup. So launching a concept that, one thing I always say, which I think a lot of people say, shit, I wish I documented the last 6 years. I wish I videoed it. So that's what I've decided to do now. I could have had 10 TV shows of running a car dealership at that size. It was crazy. But so it's called Founder Finds Future, where we're going to launch a process where we take applications from people who have an early stage startup or want to start a business and have a great idea. Going to invest $1 million of local currency into 3 founders from 3 continents, one from the UK, one from Australia, one from the US. And it's not just invest, like your Shark Tank, sort of Dragon's Den, whatever it is. It's actually be present, mentor, guide, help make decisions in the business, and try and utilize, an extensive network in the UK and Australia and what's a building network in the US and provide value to them. But really, the reality is this: it doesn't matter what the idea is. It's just all going to be about the person. It's going to be 5-10% in the idea, but I'm looking for those A-grade people, because it doesn't matter if the idea is not the best, they'll make it work. So we're going to start a full process and start to, share more information through socials and that soon. But that'll be coming up in a couple of months. And super excited for that. I think, like I said, there's so much wasted talent. And I think by having someone almost, hold your hand, that fear of not being ready, which is always the fear, maybe, if we can change 3 people's lives, maybe we come back and do it again next year, we do another 3. So that's where I see my future now being, my focus and my efforts being spent.
Love that, man.
It's amazing. It's a way for you to give back and have that fulfillment.
Yeah. And also, it's a passion of mine. It ticks a few boxes for me as well. I love work. So I've got a lot of time to fill.
So you're not only investing in the product or service or the idea, but you're also investing in the person.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And then you found those 3 or not?
No, so we're going to do a full application process. We're then going to, shortlist it down to 20 people. We're going to fly around the US to their hometowns, videoing it and interviewing each person. We're going to do the same in the UK, same in Australia. Then shortlist it down to 5. We've got an advisory board as well. We'll then choose the final applicants. And the aim at this stage, the target is to have the three founders chosen by the end of the calendar year. Start the businesses, early next year, or if they're already started, come on board early next year. So, yeah, I don't think there's anyone doing that sort of stuff. There's plenty of people that want to invest in businesses, this, that, the other, but to actually document the whole thing, to be present as well. You're not just getting my assistant. I don't have an assistant, but you're not getting my assistant, or it's you're getting me. Super excited to give back. Exactly what you said.
Yeah, I love that.
That's incredible. That's a very unique thing. And the fact that you're willing to do that is a big deal.
Yeah.
So how would one find you? Like if whoever's listening to this podcast, let's say, like they want to be able to apply, like how would they do that?
So personal Instagram, maybe we can chuck it up on the thing, but Matt Wright MCT. Same for TikTok, same for YouTube. So just any of the socials.
So prior to this, you were doing all the ads and all that stuff for the business, but you didn't really have social presence. Is that correct or not?
We didn't have it myself personally. No, not really.
The grind, doing your thing.
Yeah.
One of the things I just kind of looking back, I was looking at it. I mean, you know how that 10,000 hour rule. I mean, you paid the price 5 years somewhere else, and then 6, right?
Yeah.
And once you had 11 years.
Yeah.
In your back. And so a lot of times people go, oh, you're so lucky. Well, you paid the price and you were willing to learn and really just engulf in it and learn a trade, the skill, all these different things, right?
Yeah.
At that point. So you mentioned you were, how important is it in regards, because we were talking a little bit and you mentioned the thing that you brought to the business was a big, like part of it was like operational skills, right?
Yeah.
Would that be?
Yeah, correct. Now, when I started on that business, like I said, it was a call center role. I was on the phone buying cars, managing the call center, managing the whole sales team, sales and operations, general manager. So sort of progressed through that business, but had done the jobs right at the bottom, where it all starts, which is the entry point, buying cars. So yeah, solid understanding. There was, when COVID came, I was there cleaning cars in the yard while, we had a sales manager selling them. You do what you need to do,
Wow.
So.
Because there's so much, I think there's so much light that's given to like leaders or people that are this, and all of a sudden sometimes, and that's why I bring it up from operational standpoint, people, a lot of times they don't see the value of that. There's like, the business doesn't run without it. I mean, it's like the main core of everything, and staying profitable and having growth, and everything is about
and good people around you.
That is all part of my.
I didn't know how to read a balance sheet or a P&L properly when I was 6 months in, a year in, probably a year in. I started to really dial in on that sort of stuff. But I didn't know any of that. But I had good people around me as well. I had a good tax guy. I had a good accountant. We recruited well. Good legal. Thankfully didn't really need them at the start. But you don't need to know everything either. And I think people they're reading these books and why are you doing that, man? You don't need to know about digital marketing or marketing as a whole. Employ someone for that. The time you will spend on that. And I made these mistakes. I was pricing cars for 2.5 years. I was the wholesaler until 3 years into that business. Half of my time operating that business, I was still wholesaling the cars. And look, I was a shit hot wholesaler. There was no one better than me in the country until there was a kid that was. And I instantly saw him and I was like, you're going to be better than me. The only person, I'm not arrogant, I'm confident. Yeah. The only person I've ever seen that I'm like, you're going to be better than me. Got him in, bang, he was better than me. Margins went up again. That then released me, So I had 3 years. We know what we make. We know what the multiple should be. The number looks all right. We're done. And that was when it was 320 mil rev and ended up going up to $500 million. So in that time, the business just kept getting better. So that end number's just going up. And how hard it was. Most businesses, when you make that decision, you start to check out, you go down. At very best, you hold it. you hold it, you plateau, and you get it at the end. And for me, it coincided with me starting to take my health a bit more seriously, going to the gym, making time for stuff that was important outside of work, really creating this balance.
This is the 4th year?
This is sort of the 5th year.
Okay.
That, whilst the process was going on. So sort of, 4.5 years in, really creating that emotional and mental balance. And the thing just kept jumping. And that end number that we were like, oh yeah, that works, was up here by the end of it. So super important to stay focused as well.
And I mean, obviously a big part of this is like you kind of saw the corner before everybody saw it, right? I mean, you were the first of its kind.
Yeah,
you mentioned.
Correct. Yeah. At a national scale, yeah, absolutely.
That's such amazing, from a timing standpoint.
Yeah, and like Toyota got a great business. There was 5 of them that wanted it, and 2 of them that were deadly serious. One being them. So, as I said to you, with that year on year growth, they've got a business that's great. They've got a great business there, and there's no reason other than just personal. I just wanted the freedom, and my time in that chapter was done, and they'll capitalize on it. Just that business is growing up, They've kept me on as an advisor for 2 years, pretty much as an insurance policy, and quickly found out once they bought the business, we don't need it,
Wow.
Because everything we said about how it's run, the people in the business are great. Each person in the business is a key person, is a pillar. Everything's propped up right. And again, that wasn't always the way. It was just, oh, I'll do that. So yeah, really, it doesn't sound, when you tell people 6 years, it doesn't sound like there's a lot of structure there. That sounds pretty rushed, but there was a shitload of structure, like so much time and so much. We would only do one thing at a time, but we knocked them off very quickly, very easily, and that's.
Were you involved in a lot of that structure and setting up?
Yeah.
So you perfected it, and then you moved on to the next.
Correct.
Right? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
So
Perfected it very quickly, though.
very quickly, and then you moved on to the next thing. Because I think oftentimes, the challenge that a lot of founders have is they have so much at once. They have their hands in all these things, and now you're a jack of all trades and a master of none.
Yeah.
So you perfected quickly, moved on to the next, and then you took from being the operator in your business to now being and acting like the founder with the vision.
Yeah, correct.
So at what point in your career so you decided you wanted fulfillment, which is why you wanted to sell. Did they find you or did you find them?
So I wanted freedom, which is why I decided to sell. On selling, I realized that it was the fulfillment is what I was missing. We did a proper process. We went to advisors. We actually used, we didn't use one of the big 4. We actually used a specialist which was the best thing we ever did. We had, like I said, we had 5 people that were in the process. We had 24 hours before we signed the deal on Christmas Eve, we didn't know who we were selling it to. And whilst that sounds crazy, this is the crazy part. On one hand, you had Toyota, 120 million, freedom. On the other hand, you had another offer that was a little bit more tasty, but it meant staying on for 4 years. It meant scaling it. So the 2 offers, putting the money to the side, they were 2 polar opposites for how the next 5 years of my life would play out. One is we're sat here now. The other one is I'm still sat in Australia, pulling hair out, growing something to, they wanted it to be a couple of $1 billion for them.
Point, yeah.
But, good remuneration, shares there, really good dollar.
Really good up.
Yeah, correct. So, but 24 hours before I signed, I did not know which way it was going and which way my life was looking. And it just kept yo-yoing around as well. It was just every time I'd speak to one of them, I'm back with it. Yeah, it's just...
That's crazy. It's a big decision. That's a decision right there.
Yeah, so it was... Yeah.
Did you just draw it out? Did you have a decision-making process? Or
in the end, it was just the freedom,
so it's like truly what you wanted in your heart.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I did. Yeah, we gave up 8 figures, an additional 8 figures to go with the deal we went with.
Wow.
That's probably what I'll say.
The price of freedom.
Yeah. So
4 years. So you exchanged 8 figures for the extra 4.
yeah,
How about that for valuing your time?
yeah.
Wow.
And it wasn't just 10, it was well above 10. So that's where that's where the difficult part came from. And there would be upside with shares as well. So, but yeah, look, that process was a year and a half. As a percentage, that's 25% of my time operating that business was spent on the deal. So it was a long time, and telling you through that process of Toyota's. You want to do due diligence with a unicorn startup and Toyota at the same time, or a Japanese conglomerate. You'll understand what hard work is. I couldn't have even. I was barely in the business for probably 12 months. The amount of due diligence, it was just. But it was such a cool process. Like, I thought I knew everything, but then when I got to that, the real spicy bit of the process,
There's a lot of like going back and forth with answers for this.
Q&A, data room, tens of thousands of questions.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I really leveled up again when I went through that. Yeah, so super grateful.
So you probably learned a lot more in that 12 months than maybe your 10 years prior. Or, I mean, how much?
I would say I learned,
Like from a different set of lens.
yeah,
right.
removing the industry out of it, I would say I learned more in the last 12 to 18 months than I did the previous 10 years from a high level corporate, transactional lens.
Yeah. I've been in the industry we're in, we've been in it for a couple of decades, but like the last 27 months has been a startup deal.
Yeah, you said.
The 6 months of it felt like 5 years. I mean, it was like, there was no, like, sleep was not, like, you didn't need to sleep. Plus, we were excited. You know what I mean? There was like this spirit. Plus, we started it kind of in where we left a 7-figure income, so it wasn't like leaving, like starting it up broke.
And you want
a different chapter.
And you want to publicly list it as well.
Yeah, that's the plan. Yeah.
And can I just say,
that's why we were excited, so excited to have this conversation.
I met this guy, and he told me about this what he was doing, and this thing that he's done. He list it publicly and that, and all he wanted to do was talk about me. And it was the most humbling sort of interaction I had, and this was 24 hours ago, and now we're sat here.
Oh wow!
Like it was, it was amazing. Like, all you wanted to do was hear my story. You didn't even, I was trying to talk to you about yours, and you just didn't care. You just wanted to hear about mine. Yeah. So it was, that was a nice interaction.
I love it, man. I love the hero's journey, and I love what you go through. And there's so many gems out of it. I'm sure we can't do it in the next 30 minutes here. I think we've been 40-minute time block here. But what would be like the 3 to, I don't know, whatever, maybe some tips for like a founders, if we were calling it founders mentality, what would that be for the founders out there?
Yeah, look, I think especially in the world we're in at the moment, there is just not enough, killers out there. There's a lot of wasted talent, but there's also so many people that they're just happy going along with the world, or they're complaining, or everything's too hard. Anyone that's got, I've said it on my socials as well, desire, hunger, determination, like this is the easiest time to make money.
With those traits.
Like this new generation coming up, it's just, there's plenty of people, I listen to a lot of podcasts, Joe Rogan, Dana White's, all them, and they all say the same thing. This new generation is scary. What we're passing down. So anyone, who's young, who's hungry, who's determined, you're not going to be ready, but just get into it. So if you go out and get it, you will. Even if it's not the first one and something goes wrong, you'll learn, and you'll go and get it the second time. So this is, it is such a huge opportunity there for young founders that just want to, so many people. Stop dragging yourself out of bed every single day, going to a job you hate, coming home to your wife or your partner and taking your anger out on her, being miserable, being moody. Like, go and change your life, Yeah. And, that's something that I decided to do it really late, I was working too much. I wasn't looking after myself. I decided really late. I still got away with it. But look at what happened when I did change, like I was already checked out of a business and the business kept going up.
Yeah.
So it's,
But I think there's a part of it where that whole journey there, you weren't distracted by the traditional social media.
Yeah.
The fact that you didn't have it, I think it was helpful for you.
yeah,
There's no comparison. You were just going after what you knew good, and you just went at it.
yeah,
Versus like getting shiny object syndrome, right?
yeah, yeah.
I think there's a lot to do with that, but
Blinkers are on. Full
Yeah.
mattress, yeah.
that's a big deal. And I think there's a lot of people that could be inspired by what you're sharing there. The fact that, maybe they acquire some of it, maybe they don't have all these traits, but you can amplify your desire. I don't think, it's something that I don't know if you read Think and Grow Rich, but it talks about how to turn desire into monetary equivalent. And then in the chapter prior to that, it talks about, if I don't have desire, how do I acquire desire?
Yeah.
So there's literally recipes. It's like page 36, paragraph 2. You can pick it up.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, look, I turned up with a backpack and not a lot of money. I had no family, no safety net, no friends. Like, they weren't even a phone call away, I'm in a completely different time zone. Anyone can do it. The opportunity is there, If I could have done it, then anyone can, I was nothing special. I learned a lot along the way. I dropped out of school when I was 15. I am by no means the perfect example or the poster boy here. Yeah,
A student?
no, far from it. So,
Really?
I'm asking it so I can be comfortable, not because of anything. That was for a selfish question for myself. Any last thoughts, babe? Or?
No, that's, I got a lot of this conversation, so much. And I think it's, a lot of it is, it's the hero's journey, right? We want to say that there was some type of secret that made you different, that made that 6 years, go by so quickly. And so oftentimes the recipe is just as you said, having, the hard work, the hustle, the ambition, the grit, the belief in yourself, the taking action, and then you find confidence in your action.
Yeah.
And starting before you're ready.
Yeah.
I think it's something that everybody needs to hear because they're waiting for some magical thing to drop out of the sky. That one message that they're going to hear on a podcast or on a seminar, and it's the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
It's just taking ownership over your own life and what you want and just getting after it.
Yeah. Exactly.
So thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. Just we're on that same journey. I mean, everybody doubted us. Everybody kind of, didn't believe in us, and we were all ridiculed when we did the startup. But we proved them wrong. We did $100 million in our first year, and then $150 million, and we're about to double that this year. So we're in this whole thing that you're feeling. Yeah, and obviously we got incredible company we're a part of, and great team of people, and so it's beautiful, man. Because I'm seeing it right from your lens, and just I'm borrowing some of that on my end. As we wrap up, I one of your reels that I was watching, I loved it because you said, man, no agenda, no course, no nothing. You just kind of kept going, and I love it because everybody has some shit to sell. Yeah, and you go, I got nothing to sell. I got no agenda. I just want to provide value. So if you can just tell the audience as we wrap up, kind of, what's the goal with that? And because I can feel it right as you're sharing that, and then we'll put all your handle and all that stuff.
Yeah, look, I don't. For the greatest respect, I don't need anyone else's money. There's a lot of things that my story is great. It couldn't have went much better. I fully get that, but there's so many mistakes I still made, and there's a lot of things had I have known, or I wish I'd known that would have made. And that's not just in business. That's through dealing with the personal side that happened as well. That would have made it a lot easier. So genuinely want to help. There's no course coming. There's no money that's about to get. When the followers get up and then want to turn around and ask them for money, it's just genuinely giving back to people who are interested, and that's what they want to hear about. And the more people I can touch and help and reach, the more fulfilled I'll be. So that's my goal.
I think you'll viral with your message, and for good. And I think we need more good men out there to go viral.
Yeah,
I mean, that are unknown.
Yeah,
like we're not really known, right? I mean, I think more of this message needs to come out. And then one of the things that we've lived by is like,
you become blessed, and it's almost like your duty to bless others, no matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then that's where we kind of, selfishly get fulfilled ourselves, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, you're a rare bird.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Hey, thanks for having me.
You mind if we have cigars after this?
Let's do it.
All right, let's go.
Great. Secondhand smoke, you're right now.
I hate it. All right then. That was awesome.